Hello, everybody. This is Debbie Enoch from Teacher Success Coach with another episode of the Female Educators Roundtable. And today we're looking at homeschooling / home education. It depends on which country you are. It could be homeschooling or it could be home educating. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, Ellie, for actually accepting the offer to come online to share your journey with us. I really do appreciate that because it's really nice for everyone to see different journeys.
Yeah.
And then they're able to make up their mind because, in terms of taking the plunge to home educating could be a big thing for some people.
Yeah.
It could also be very, very frightening for some people. So as a result of that, it's really nice for people to see the pros and the cons, the ups and the downs, the challenges and the triumphs, because there's nothing without challenges.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's really nice for you to actually come and, tell us what it's been like in terms of the challenges and the triumph, the good days and the not so bad days, the time when the children don't want to connect, things like that.
Yeah.
Because we know it happens.
Yes.
So thank you for that. Right. Introduce yourself. Tell us where you come from and tell us, the reasons why you decide to homeschool your child or children.
Okie dokie. So I'm Ellie. We're from Somerset, so southwest UK. We've been formally home educating for 2 years now. My daughter would be just finishing up year 1. So we've never actually been. Oh,
Sorry.
that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
We've never actually sent her to nursery or school. We decided that home education would be the route we would take from when she was about 2 years old. I actually saw it first on Instagram, someone that I followed that because I liked their pretty wooden toys and the pictures that they did. One day in her story said, "Oh, this is our homeschool group meetup," and suddenly a light bulb went off of, hang on, whoa, what's this? So we then did some more research into it and decided, yeah, this is going to be the right fit for her. So that's how we found out about home ed.
Okay, that's fantastic though, because I am sure you yourself have not been home educated.
No, I haven't.
Okay. So how easy was it for you to actually, for, you guys to actually decide that, yes, I'm going to take her out or don't send her at all and do that?
Well, that's the wording you said there, take her out. It's the wording there that sometimes catches people is that you actually opt in to school.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget that. They're so worried about it, but you actually decide when they're 3 or 4, yep, I'm going to send them, and you get the forms and you opt them in to the school system. So we just never opted in, basically. And it was actually quite an easy decision for us. My biggest worry was telling my husband or asking my husband, would he be happy with us home educating, because obviously they're his children as well. And I'd heard a lot of stories from people where their other half had been so against it. But we were really lucky in that he said, yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think
Wow. So
that's
he
a
didn't
really
need
good
much
idea.
convincing.
He didn't need any convincing at all. No. So he's actually from the States. So he wasn't home educated, but the schooling system here and over there is very different. And the different kinds of schools they have over there as well are so different. They vary so much from school to school. He was very lucky to go to one that was quite relaxed and very child focused, especially in his older years, compared to schools in the UK. They're pretty much one trick pony for what they're going to do.
Yeah. It is so true because as we know, schools in the UK, one size fits all.
Yes, one size fits some.
Exactly, and one size doesn't fit all. As I said, everybody, who's been tuning into me know that I'm a teacher myself, and I really promote homeschooling, home education, because I feel as a teacher, we are never able to meet the needs of every child in our class. We need to be honest about that. There sometimes you have 31 children. It should be 30, but you might have 31, 32. And just think, in that class, there are various needs, there are various learning styles, there are various ways by which these children connects.
Yeah.
And it is impossible for us as teachers to do lessons which meet every child's needs.
Yeah. And then it must be so hard as well if you've got one child that you can see is struggling with a concept. You've still just got to move on, then, don't you? Because you've got a schedule to stick to.
Exactly. And that's the challenge there, where you know and you see for yourself that, oh my goodness, this child doesn't, the child haven't got a clue what you're talking about. The child is in a fairy world. And you know that you see it, you feel it. Unfortunately, you can't stay too long. You need to move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whereas for you, what happens? Tell us about it.
We can take as long or as little as we need. So, we've had some concepts where it's taken us 20 minutes and she's understood, yeah, that's how that works. That's fine. And then there's other things like telling the time is something that we've been going at for about 6 months now because it's just not connecting. And I think it's because it's not in an even number. It's 60, which is divided into 5, and it's 24 hours. It's not an easy one to just pick up for her. So yeah, we've just spent a long time and tried several different approaches, and it's only now starting to click that, right, it's been 15 minutes. That means we've got half an hour left, or, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. That's interesting because if she's in the school, main school, and she doesn't understand, nobody have time to, say, oh yes, we're gonna take 3 months, a term to go through that.
Yeah.
If you don't understand, it's a sink or swim. And the interesting thing about this time, a lot of children do not know how to tell the time on an analog clock. Right? Digital, they're fine. But on the analog clock, they don't know what you're talking about. I would say to them, okay, what is the time? I would say, oh, what time your lessons finish? They're looking at me. I said, come on, you guys, what time the lesson finishes? I glance at the clock and I'm thinking, okay. And then I was asked them and they don't know what I'm talking about because they don't know how to tell the time using the analog clock.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, digital is not a problem, but the analog, they don't understand the concept.
Yeah.
I did not realize that until a few years ago. One of my students had a watch and I said to him, oh, what the time? I said, oh, you've got a digital. I said, why have they got your digital? Miss, I cannot tell the time in any other format. What do you mean? And I then realized, and I started using that with all my students. Yeah. And I'm talking about students there's some students who are in the sixth form. Sixth form students who are 16-year-olds. They're looking at the analog clock, and they cannot tell you the time. If it's a digital, they can. Analog, they can't. I did not. And I'm saying to them, what do you mean? Because for me, it was weird because right now in the last 5 years, I only teach sixth formers. I couldn't get my head around it that they say, no, miss, I really cannot tell the time. I said, stop messing around. But it's real.
It's such a basic life skill that you need to be able to tell the time.
Yes, but I can, but it's digital.
But only digital.
Yes,
I'm assuming in a 12-hour format, not a 24-hour as well.
Don't know how to do the 24 hours.
Wow. Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so that was quite interesting for me. So when you're saying that, the time your child took, yes, but at least she got it. Some of them still don't know. Some of them still don't know it. Yeah,
well, we've got the luxury of being able to spend as long as we need until she gets it right. And as well, we have taken a lot of breaks. We're like, okay, you're not getting this. We'll come back to it in a month. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the other nice thing about it is we can just say, that's fine, we're going to park it for now. We'll come back later with a new way of doing it.
Exactly. As you say, you have the luxury in the school. The children don't have that luxury. And that could be a reason why they
And the
don't
teachers
know.
don't either.
Exactly, exactly. And it could be a reason why they don't know in terms of the analog clock because they don't have time. Because, it's like you teachers have set time to do this topic. It's not done that by that time you now need to move on.
Yeah.
And it's like the programming. And it's interesting because I teach psychology and I was teaching it to my year 10s who are, how old are year 10? I think they're 12, probably 11, 12, I can't remember. And they're saying to me, Miss, we are supposed to finish research methods and we're not yet finished. And I'm looking at them and it's like the pressure. But Miss, you're supposed to finish it and you haven't finished it. And it was like all this pain coming from them. And I
Yeah.
said to them, it does not matter. You
Yeah.
would finish it before the exam time. But it's like the pressure and the programming of them,
Yeah.
which is quite sad. So in terms of the national curriculum, before I get now, what do you follow a national curriculum?
We don't currently follow any curriculum, but I do check the government website, which does have the expectations for the end of each year, um, about every 4 months or so,
Mhm.
just to see for my own sake where we are. But I haven't ever let her know, if she's ahead or behind or whatever whatever it is. For the most part, she's either completely on track or some things we're ahead. But I don't want her, as you've said, to feel that pressure of
Mhm.
thinking that she's not keeping up with her peers or that she's, you know, not doing enough because she is. She does do enough and she is doing well. And there's no reason for her, she doesn't have any exams
Mhm.
to have that put on her as well. She's, when you're 6, there's enough going on, to
Exactly.
be learning and doing and without having any pressure put on you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. In terms of, you don't follow the national curriculum, but we know the national curriculum in the UK is not compulsory. A lot of people don't know
Yeah.
that, right? And another thing is schools could teach whatever they want to teach. They could decide to look at, teach different subject, different topic, but they're all just like sheep. They all follow the same rules and
Yeah.
routes, etc., which is quite sad. The other thing is, as you say, you don't follow national curriculum. So therefore, what is your day like? What time you start? What time you finish? How many hours you feel that is enough for her to study?
We do give or take an hour a day. That's usually our maximum is an hour. Usually we get everything finished within half an hour. And she's still on track for reading, writing. She's ahead in math. Um, because I keep my eye on where she should be. But we really do not spend very long at all doing anything. Our days change every day. So, but we always make sure that we do some reading. So she'll read either, well, we've just actually finished this year's books. So we're rereading them just to see how much progress she's made. So we'll always do a little bit of reading. I'll do a read aloud to them, and then we spend a lot of time playing educational games that they don't realize are educational games.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday we did. Have you ever played the brain box games? They're little flashcards, and you have to memorize what's on them in 30 seconds. So I read them aloud to the kids, and then you flip them over, and there's questions on the back, and they have to remember what was on there. So we did an animal version of that. Um, and she decided by herself that she wanted to actually copy out what the lifespan was of every card that we all had. So she was practicing her writing doing that.
Mhm.
Um, and I think people forget that it can be as simple as that. That's how she's practicing her handwriting. That's how she's getting better with the pen, especially in these younger years. And she's reading as well. And you know, people think that reading has to be in like a textbook or phonics books and things, but she's reading all the time, all these different things throughout the day. We just do that tiny bit of set reading, and everything else is just her learning through life.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Thank you. You said something so powerful there. Learning through life. And people don't seem to realize that. Throughout life, you are learning.
Yeah,
Education is not only in the classroom.
no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And I think when you start home educating, you do start to see these bits in the day where she is choosing to learn, where she's choosing to go and do something and she's figuring it out. And, you know, especially now that she can read pretty well, I can see her trying to figure out all these different things. And, you know, even when we're going past shops, she's reading all the signs in the shop and she's like, there's a sale on there.
Oh,
Things like that.
wow.
Um, yeah, just silly things like that. But every day is a school day when you just let them do it.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. That's fantastic. Do you think that they enjoy learning?
Yes,
Why and
absolutely.
how? Why and how?
So a little bit of a story time here. I made a mistake when we first started. So that first September where she would have started school, I went in thinking, right, I have to replicate some school at home. We won't do it for as long, but we have to be doing some workbooks and worksheets, and I'm going to do flashcards. And I called it her schoolwork. And it became very apparent very quickly that she was really resistant to this. So after about 2 months of struggling along, trying to get her to do schoolwork, we just had to
Yes.
stop because she was so resistant to it. And I could see her love of learning just going like that because
Right.
it just wasn't for her
Yeah.
doing in that way. But now that we don't do work bits and sit down stuff anymore and we give her more freedom with it, she's constantly asking questions and wanting me to look different things up and saying, well, can we do this to see if that works? And wanting to learn new skills. And that love of learning is really there. So we go to a home ed co-op every Wednesday,
Mhm.
and the kids can't wait for it because a different family each week will do the teaching.
Oh.
We have like a small section at the start, it's about half an hour, where someone will give a talk on a certain topic. This term, we've just done special interest so that all the kids could do what they want. And so we've made volcanoes with baking soda and vinegar, and we made bug boxes. So they did woodwork and learned about all the different tools. And last term, we did about different countries. So every family would teach about a different country, and they just can't wait for it every week. Like, I can't wait to learn about something new today. And they get even more excited when it's our turn to teach. So they're like, I can't wait to show my friends what we're doing. So this week we did about animation, and yeah, she was just so excited to teach everybody how to do the flip books and the stop motion. We brought our iPad so that the kids could have a go at making their own stop motion, and she was so excited to show them how to do it and to learn some skills from the other kids when they showed her how to move the arms and things on the little figures we had. But yeah, she absolutely, they love learning. They love it.
Mhm.
And they've not had anyone tell them, oh, that's not cool to, enjoy learning, which is something that I really like.
Mhm, mhm. Thank you. It is so fascinating because it's just natural. Learning is not meant to be under pressure. It's meant to be
Yeah.
something that just goes through the process. And it's interesting what you've said because this is what I have from a lot of people who start in home ed, right? Where they want to replicate the school day.
Yeah.
And it have not dawned on them, no, 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 no. It's only when they try it and the children are resistant
Yeah.
that I realize, oh my goodness, I have to unschool myself
Yeah. Yeah.
in order to run with what my child wants. Because I had a woman in the program and she was a teacher and she said she was replicating the school day. She said, but hold on, I have left school because I want
Because
to
you
home ed
don't
my
want to
child.
do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She said, and when she realized her child was resistant, she had to pause and say, hold on. She said she took everything and she threw them away.
Yeah.
She said, I threw them all away and I have to unlearn, unschool myself
Yeah.
because I was so programmed, I had everything set. And that's what you're coming out of the system, or you don't want, that's why you haven't joined the system. You don't
Yeah.
want that programming, right?
Exactly.
So it's interesting that the children have to tell us
Yeah.
that, what are you doing? I hate this.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a real egg on my face with it. It was,
It was a learning curve for you because the fact
yeah.
is you don't want to send them to the traditional, but yes, you're implementing the traditional.
Yeah. And it wasn't for her at all. It was for me to see that we had done something in a day. And I think, as I said earlier, now I can see everything that she's doing in a day. I can see where she's learning it in non-traditional ways. But when we first started, I was so scared that we weren't going to be doing enough. She wasn't going to learn how to read. She wasn't going to learn any math. And that was, looking back on it, it was really ridiculous because kids, they just pick it up. They do, a
Yes.
lot of them, they do just pick it up.
Yes, yes, and they learn through play a lot.
Yes, yeah,
That's the thing. Playing is so powerful. People fail to realize how powerful play is and how much children could learn. Not even children, I said to
yeah,
my year 12 and 13, I want them to start doing things through play. And they looked at me. I said, yes. I said, guess what? When you came in here, you were fine. But when you come to secondary school, I'm not too sure what we do to you guys. We either program, we take the fun out of learning, that you guys become robots.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting you say that as well. So we were going back to telling people and being nervous about telling people that we were home educating. I remember the first time we told my dad, and he was like, oh, primary school, at least the younger years, is fine, isn't it? Because they're just playing for most of the time. But once you get up to secondary school, it all changes, and that's when the problems come in. So I was really surprised that he was saying, the opposite of what a lot of people say is, oh, it's fine for primary school, but you've got to send them to secondary school to get, a proper education. When he was saying, actually, no, secondary school is where the problems start,
Mhm.
and you should try and avoid avoid
Yeah.
sending them there.
Yeah, he is so right though, because when the children in the primary school, they excel a lot more and they learn so much more. But when they get to secondary school, I'm not too sure. Well, I know what we've done to them. We make them become program robots,
Yeah.
and learning no longer become fun. Learning become, a program, journey which they have to have.
Yeah.
And in the sense that the students are saying to me, Miss, we're supposed to finish this research method and we haven't finished it. It's like the anxiety,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's the thing about it. Another thing is, this is something people say all the time, that how do they socialize, which means that, do you think that they're not going to the mainstream education? Do you feel that they're socializing? Do you feel that they know how to have conversations?
Yes. Yes. So I'm quite an introverted person, and the amount of conversations we have with people that, you know, I probably wouldn't go up to another parent at the playground, but my kids are always just making friends. They're always going up to people. They are incredibly social. And I think a lot of it is down to their nature, in that they are both just very social people. They thrive around other people, but also they've never had it put into them that you shouldn't start a conversation with someone. You know, obviously don't talk to strangers, but you know, they'll go up to another child and be like, oh, do you want to be my friend and play a game? And that's just it. You know, they're not put into ages or genders or anything in the groups that we go to. We go to two big social groups a week, and the age ranges there are from newborn, pretty much. I can't remember how old she is now, the youngest one that's there, but from babies through to teenagers. And they all just work together and know how to get on, and the older ones help the younger ones. And they're not afraid to go up to the parents and say, can you help me tie my shoe if I'm busy? Or can you show me how to do that? Or we go to one that's in the woods where we make fires and cook over the fire. They're not afraid to say, can I start the fire today? You know, and get help with that. Whereas I remember being terrified of speaking to my friend's parents when we when we first met, because it was just such a taboo that you shouldn't speak to your elders and things like that. And in the playground, you stuck to your class and your friends. You didn't mix with the other year groups. You're set there and that's it. And they don't have that fear put into them, which is really nice. So they're very social. We do so many activities. I actually did a post a little while ago saying, oh, aren't you worried about the socialization? Like, yes, because I am constantly socializing now. Yeah, so no, I am not worried. And for anyone that is worried about that aspect, because I know it is always a, you know, a selling point for people, is the socialization they're going to have. I would have a look on Facebook and just put in home ed, whatever your area is. So you could start with your county and then go to your town. There's even a couple that are just home ed UK groups that you will find, and just join them and see what is going on in your area, because there will be a lot that you're not seeing going on. And if you're, you know, feeling brave enough, just put up a post introducing yourself, saying that you're thinking about home educating and what your worries are, and let the home ed community try and ease those worries, because we will.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. That is so very true, because one of the things that prospective home ed parents says that, oh, I'm worried about socialization. You know, how would my child be able to socialize if they're actually, you know, being home educated by themselves, right?
Yeah.
But you see, the interesting thing about that is when you actually look at the children that are socialized in school, as you touched on just now, they're socializing with their own age group. They don't know how to necessarily speak to children of different age group, because they have not been socialized in doing that. Whereas with home education students, you know, children, they actually does that all the time, because there's no set group they belong to, no set age group they belong to.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's lovely to watch as well, because the older ones are always keen to help and to teach what they know. And you know, you don't get that opportunity at school unless you're doing sort of a peer project, and then it's forced on you rather than something that you want to do.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. How long do you think you're going to home educate your children for, in terms of college? Would you, what would you do in terms of when they're ready to go to college and go to university? What do you see that looking like?
So we'll keep home educating until they ask us not to. Um, Up until probably 14, that's usually when a lot of the home ed community start taking college courses. 13 or 14, there's so many different options, but usually they'll go to college 1 or 2 days a week and do 1 or 2 GCSEs or whatever the equivalent is at the time, so that they're not doing, 10, 15 of them within the space of 2 years or all those exams in 1 year. So they spread them out over a longer time period, or they'll go into specific courses that they want to do straight away. But we're going to play it by ear at the moment because the kids are so young.
Yeah.
We'll definitely want them to get their core GCSEs or whatever it will be by the time they are doing those exams, their core GCSEs and potentially A levels if they want to do them, but that they will be doing them in a college rather than at a sixth form or anything like that.
Thank you. What are the advantages and disadvantages, and what time do you start your, school with the children?
That varies by the day. So our earliest start is my daughter has a phonics tutor once a week. That's at 9:30. But usually we don't wake them up in the morning. We let them sleep in until they're ready. We take our mornings slowly. We have breakfast and things and wake up before we move into anything. So usually by about 10:30 we'll start, but it's really relaxed. As I've said earlier, it's nothing. We'll usually start with a game to wake them up rather than going straight into the reading. Because otherwise we just get delay tactics.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But yeah, it varies by day. So days where we don't have clubs in the afternoon, we won't start doing school until later on, or learning work until later on in the afternoon. Because my daughter's a bit funny. She works better in the afternoon than she does in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, my son I know is going to be the opposite of that. He's much more productive in the morning than he is in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So we do 2 mornings a week where we do all of our learning in the morning, and the other 3 days we do afternoon. I work on a Saturday, so we do nothing that day and then just a little bit on the Sunday as well. And then we take breaks as and when we need throughout the year. So we don't break up for the summer. So that's one of the main challenges for us, is because we don't stop learning over the summer, but all of our clubs stop.
Okay.
So we have to try and keep our routine when everything else stops, and that can be a bit of a challenge.
Right. When you say it's a bit of a challenge, in what way? What happens?
So all of the home ed clubs and groups stop because a lot of the spaces are taken over by school holiday activities, or the people running them just need a break. Some of them. And I was talking to somebody the other day. She said that she stopped during the holidays because numbers become unpredictable and they can't afford to keep paying for the spaces if they're not going to have the same people coming.
Yeah.
So it makes it difficult for us, because it stops our flow of the week. So we'd usually have a club on a Monday, a club on a Tuesday. That's the only one that's going to continue.
Mhm.
Club on a Wednesday, Thursday's our free day, and then a club on the Friday, and the Monday, Friday, Wednesday all stop. So it
Okay.
really changes the flow of our week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and makes it more challenging when we go to start back up again in September to suddenly have all these groups that we're doing again after having quite a relaxed, slow time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's also quite difficult, probably like a lot of schoolgoers find, that friends are away and we're not, there's the boredom of not doing the usual things.
Mhm.
So that's it. Yeah, it gets
Right.
frustrating for them.
Right. Right. So what do you do? Can you not, you know, do something different with them?
Yes, we do. So I've looked up what's going on recently and I've booked us into some different things.
Okay.
The only problem with that is because the kids aren't used to having such large groups when we go places. And
Yes.
suddenly all these places that we've usually had to ourselves, parks and things, are just teeming with people. And
Mhm.
they can find that a bit overwhelming and stressful. They do like
Right.
making friends and they're great whilst we're there, but they come home and it just sort of all falls apart a little bit
Yes.
because it's
Yes.
just
Yes.
so overwhelming that
Yeah.
suddenly they're around 50
Mm.
people rather than 20.
Wow. Yes. 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 Yeah. I could see how that could be really stressful for them
Yeah.
because they're connecting a small group. They do things in a small group, and all of a sudden you have 50 and 100 people. What are they
Yeah.
doing in my
Yeah.
space? You know.
Yeah. And they can't be as free as they want to be,
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
got to keep a closer eye on them and
Mhm.
don't wander too far. Because when you're in an empty playground, we
Yeah.
can see them from one end to
Yes.
another. And then suddenly I'm having to say, no, you can't go past this point. You
Yeah.
can't, you know, yeah,
Yeah, so therefore, thank you for that. So therefore, it's kind of a pressurizing on them, because it's like the freedom all of a sudden.
it's gone.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
I see that. I see that. Um, if there is the last question, if there is no, it's not the last question. Let's see, let's go to the last question. If there is someone who decided that they want to homemade the child or children, but is a little bit anxious in terms of feeling that they're not the best teacher for their children, what would you tell them? And I'm going to throw this question to you. Why do you think that you are the best teacher for your children?
Because I know them.
Oh, wow.
I
I
know,
like
I know that it's an easy one to answer, really. I know how they work, I'm with them, or I have been with them all day, pretty much every day since they were born. Even from when they're tiny babies, you can see their personalities coming out. You know how they work, when they're going to push your buttons as well, and how to diffuse situations and how they learn. It was really clear early on that my daughter was not going to be a sit still and listen kind of kid. She's constantly moving, she's constantly fidgeting. Even when she's sat down, like at the dinner table, she'll just keep changing positions because that's just who she is. And she's also a chatterbox. She, loves to talk to people. She loves to give her opinion out there and answer questions. And yeah, it's just who she is. So I knew from quite early on that she would be classed as one of these kids that couldn't listen because she's moving and talking and trying to work things out in her own way. But that would be, my thing. You know your children, you know what they're capable of, you know when they've had too much or enough of something, you know that you can't keep pushing them past a certain point. And you will find a way of teaching them that works best for them because of that, because you know them so well. And in a school, they won't get that. And if you're anxious about whether you know enough, we live in an age where you can find anything, anything that you need to online. And like I said earlier, we have a phonics tutor for my daughter once a week, because it was something that I didn't feel confident enough to do on my own. And there is help out there for you. You know, I don't think that I could teach her woodwork, but we're a part of a co-op, and one of the parents there does woodwork. So you can share your skills with other parents and other, you know, co-ops are my favorite thing, where you're all sharing your knowledge. But if there's something you really don't feel confident with, say you aren't confident with math, then you can find someone online or find a program online that will help you with it, at least for the initial part, until you do feel comfortable. There are some great groups on Facebook. There's a £2 tuition hub, and it's set of 5 weeks. So it's £10 for these 5-hour-long sessions. And it ranges from Spanish to history to art to cookery to textiles. I think there's everything you could imagine. There's a teacher for it for £10 for 5 weeks. There's some really affordable options as well. It doesn't have to be like a one-on-one tutor, which can get really expensive.
Thank you. That's fantastic. You know, in terms of the tutoring online and £1 per session, you know, etc. So that's quite good. So, you know, those are some of the things that will be nice for you to share on the, you know, on the Facebook, etc. What tips, thank you very much for that. What tips would you give any parents who want to home educate their child?
I my biggest tip is just do it, just try. Because the person that your child is, if they are in school already, the person who your child is when you're seeing them, you know, at the end of a 8-9 hour day is very different to the one that you will get when they've relaxed a little bit, as well, and you're able to go at your own pace. But you won't know if you don't try. And there's nothing to say that you can't send them back to school if it doesn't work out. You know, you can take them out and say, yeah, this is not for me, or your child can say, this is not for them, and they can go back again.
Yeah.
That's always an option. There's also flexi schooling, but that does vary by school whether they will allow it or not. But that's always an option to try as well. But you won't know if you don't try.
Thank you. Yes, a lot of people don't know there's about this flexi school whereby, you know, in a lot of schools, 90% of the schools in the UK offer flexi session, but they don't tell you about it because they don't want you to have it.
No,
right?
no. It makes more work for them as well, doesn't it? And
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Funny, I was talking to our parents a few weeks ago regarding the flexi service. And she said, I didn't know the school offered it. I said, yes. I said, you go back to them and you insist that is what you want.
Yeah.
I said, because it's there. They would not encourage you because, as you rightly say, it's a lot of work for them. And, you know, they already have a lot of work going on. Why would they add to it?
Yeah.
You know, so that is very, very true. Do you think, thank you for that, do you think that home education or homeschooling prepares children for the outside world?
Yes. Yeah, much better than school does, I think. You know, people are quick to say, oh, they're not going to get to experience the real world if they don't go to school. And they're talking about bullying and things that happens in school and having to listen to instructions that when you are in the home education world, all they're doing is the real world. They're already interacting with people. They're already, still having to listen to instructions and follow instructions. We're not, letting them just run wild all day, every day, and they never have to do anything they don't want to. There are a few families like that, but they're not they're
It's
not
not
the
rare.
norm. They're the extreme end.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, it absolutely does. If I said to my daughter, "Hey, oh, can you phone the doctors and make yourself an appointment?" I have every faith that she could she could do it
Mhm.
already. She knows how to go to the library and do her books and interact with the librarians if there's an issue with the computer, and she does the food shopping and she can follow a
Wow.
list, and because they're there doing it with us all the time.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So yeah, it really does. And they still do things like sports clubs where they've got someone outside of the family giving them directions and things like that. I really don't understand when people say that they're not going to be prepared for the real world and that they're not going to be able to follow instructions, because they still do. They still
Mhm.
do all these things. It's not just me in a room with them all
Mhm.
day. We don't just sit in a little bubble. We go
Mhm.
out and live in the real world.
Yeah, yeah. I think that is, thank you for that. I think that is where people are coming unstuck because they don't know in terms of home education, homeschooling, that it is not, it's not programmed. That's the reason why, me having you guys to come and share your journey, it actually enlighten people so
Yeah,
they know what exactly is it. Because in some people's head, you are replicating the school day in your home,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. When in reality, it's such a small amount of our day is taken up with sit down learning work, and the rest of it is just living life, because we can get through the work so much quicker when it's one on one or one on two
Mhm.
than one on 30.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Very, very true. And especially when you actually, bring in real life application into the setup. It's like, yes, you've just done the shopping. Do you realize you were doing maths? Do you
Yeah,
realize you were also doing percentages?
yeah, exactly.
It
Yeah,
is easy as that.
yeah, that's exactly it.
And that is where people, because they've been so programmed, they don't see it as that's learning.
Yeah, yeah. It can only be learned in a box
Yeah,
for a lot of
exactly.
people.
Yeah, it is true
But
because they think that, this supposed to be, learned at school, etc. And that's where learning is taking place. And when I finish the school day, I go home and learning stops.
yeah,
You
and
know,
that's never the case.
exactly. But it's like trying to get the children to realize learning is everywhere, learning takes place everywhere. That's what I said to my year 10s in terms of the research methods. I said, you guys went on a field trip. Last week they went on a field trip, and I said, "Oh my goodness, you guys went on a field trip. That's research method,
Yeah,
So what were the variable? What changes things?" And it's like only when I started talking to them like that yesterday, they look at me and say, "Oh my goodness, miss," and they were able to bring in some different variables that change the whole thing in terms of the research. However, it's like it takes so long for you to try to get them to connect that.
yeah, yeah. When you're just trying to talk to them about it rather than them going out and living it, two
Exactly,
very different things.
exactly. And I'm saying to them, come on, this is what happened on your trip. You were doing research methods. So why you think is different? But because they have been so programmed from such early age that it is difficult for them to become deprogrammed and
Yeah,
understand that the research method is everywhere. It's not only in the textbook.
yeah.
You know, what other tips can you give any parents that want to start homeschooling their children? Two more tips, please.
If find what style will work for your kids. So there will be some kids that will like doing workbooks. They'll like doing that and filling things in and seeing the end result. And there are going to be some kids like my daughter, you're going to have to be a bit more creative with them. So be open to things like game schooling, where you're just going to be playing board games all day, but be open to the fact that they are going to learn so much from those board games. There's going to be so much that they can learn from playing. As you said earlier, play is powerful. And yeah, be open to doing things a little bit differently than that, because if you get stuck in, they need to fill in this sheet, they need to do this workbook, we need to sit and do this, you're going to come undone, I think, and you're going to have a frustrated child that becomes resistant to what you're trying to do. So don't think about how you want to do things, think about how they are going to learn and how they're going to best interact with you as well. So it is really difficult as the educator to not do things the way that you want to. But yeah, just be open to changing things for them. And then one last tip, what can I think of? Have your kids join in with you with your day, your normal day, the things that you're doing. Don't try and keep them out of it. So things like the laundry, it would be a lot quicker if you just did it, but they're probably going to want to do it with you. And in the end, in 2, 3, 4 years' time, when they are doing the laundry by themselves, it's going to save you so much time. Things like making breakfast and lunch and dinner, if they want to get involved, let them. It'll be messier, it's going to take longer, but they're going to be learning so much from just joining in with your day. So take them shopping with you, let them make the food, obviously in an age appropriate way. If you've got a 4-year-old, don't let them put things in the oven. But let them do everything that they are capable of doing. And I think you'll find that they are a lot more capable than you would think. My 3-year-old, this sounds like I'm making him do the laundry. I'm not, but he loves to fold his clothes.
Oh wow!
And it takes so much longer. And it gets really frustrating when you just want to do it quickly. But he loves to fold his clothes and put them away. And a lot of the time I do have to go in and redo it because he's put them in the wrong places. But he does do it, and that is such a good thing for him to learn. And my daughter, she loves sweeping the floor. Again, it sounds like I'm putting her to work, but she really loves to do that. And it makes her feel valued and helpful. And yeah, it takes longer, but it's something that can make them feel valuable in the home as well, and gives them something to do. So don't try to just keep them out of it. If you're going to be homeschooling, bring them into doing things as well.
Thank you. What you say, so the two last points are so powerful, because although you have to redo it, right, it gives them a sense of purpose, a sense of achievement, and they know that, my goodness, they're doing something so well.
Yes.
Therefore, it is, you see, that also builds children's self-confidence and self-esteem. Because in the classroom, you don't have that. In the classroom, you could spot a mile away these children, how much 95% of them in the class have low self-esteem, low confidence. And something like getting them to, they deciding that they want to fold up the clothes and doing the sweeping, etc., and you're not taking it away from them, it gives them so much power and so much confidence to do the things.
Yeah, yeah. And it's such a little thing as well,
Yeah,
but they love it, and they do
yeah,
always feel like they're helping and they're a part of
yeah.
the family unit rather than just I don't know, just a child. I suppose it makes them feel
Yeah,
more like a person.
yeah, it does. It really does. It's so interesting in all of that because my son said to me one day, he's 18, and he's saying to me, Mother, there's sometimes some adults and some teachers doesn't treat us as human beings.
Yeah.
They don't think that we're human beings. And I paused and I looked at him and I really had to do some hard thinking and reflection. I said to him, Really? He said, Yes, mother, because he calls me mother. I said, Yes, mother, especially teachers. They don't think that we're human beings. They just see us as a nobody. Oh my goodness. And I'm thinking, You're a teacher. Do you do that? You do. You really start reflecting on those things. It really is powerful. I must say, from the time I began to do this homeschooling program, it have taught me so much. It have taught me in the sense that how much I changed my teaching, because although I used to teach outside of the box, I'm teaching even more outside of the box. And I see the importance of learning through everything you do. That's one of the reasons I constantly say to my students, you need to think outside of the box. They're probably sick and tired of hearing me say that. You need to think outside of the box. And home education, homeschooling really enable the children to be independent and creative thinkers.
Yes. Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
they have to be to survive in the world now. You've got to be able to think differently than how we used to because the world's changing so quickly and they need to be able to change with it.
it is so, so powerful. I don't think people realize how powerful homeschooling, home education is, and how much it is so useful, and powerful for the children. You don't necessarily have to, if someone don't want to homeschool because of whatever reason, but I think they should also encourage the children to think outside the box and encourage them to see education not only in the classroom but everywhere. Instead of saying that you need to do homework, you don't
Yeah,
need to do homework. You need to reflect on what I've just taught you and see how you could implement it as part of your journey.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. Have you got anything? Oh my goodness. I must say, homeschooling is so, so powerful because as I said, it really does make me see things very differently. Because I said to you, I don't give homework, but I want you to reflect on what we've just been taught and see how you could actually make it come alive. And when you see me in the next lesson, give me practical examples.
Yeah. That's that's so much better for them, isn't it? To be able to go out into the real world and
Yeah,
say, oh yeah, I can see that now and get them to think about how they might be using this in real life.
yeah, 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 yeah. Have you got anything else you want to say to us before we wrap up?
I don't think it's just if you are considering it, then just give it a go. Reach out to those groups on Facebook. Reach out if you want to reach out to me on Facebook through Debbie, you can, or um, yeah, just ask some questions about it. Keep asking questions if you want to get involved, just to get an idea of what it's like. See if you can meet up with someone that is already home educating to see that our kids are actually well socialized. You know, we're not these strange people that we get painted to be.
Yeah,
It's not how it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. You know, homeschool is a lot more mainstream now.
It is very, very true. Very, very much so, because people seem to think that a lot of people in their mind, homeschooling is this weird group of people.
Yeah, that we're this extreme group that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's not the case. It's not.
Exactly. It's definitely, I could say that because I interview you guys all the time, every week.
Yeah,
It's definitely not. It's, it is reminding parents to encourage and empower their children to put what they learned from school into reality.
yeah, yeah.
That's
And
what's
that's all we do. We just do it all the time.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly. Using what you've been taught into a practical setting. That's what it is. Oh my goodness. Thank you so very much, Ellie.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Debbie.
It's been fantastic. And if you know any of your homeschooling people who wants to come and share the journey, because everybody's journey is different.
I will. I'll put them in touch. I've definitely got a few in mind that
Yes, please.
yeah.
Yes, please. Because everybody journey is different. Everybody took the journey for a different reason. Everybody, it's like halfway through you realize that you have to, unschool yourself as well as
Yes.
unschooling, everything you had in your head.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
empty your
Absolutely.
head and just come to it, as it is.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so very much. Thank you, my
Okay.
Facebook people. And I'll see you guys tomorrow with another episode of the Female Educators Roundtable, talking to my teacher.